pretty fast. Yeah.
It's live now.
Okay, we'll call this Dunn County Commissioner meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. What do you mean?
Everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting? Heard from.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the last meeting minutes.
There a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Dalzell, second by Commissioner Marsh to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carried. Then on to the agenda. Commissioner Marsh, do you have any additions?
No.
Commissioner Dalzell,
No,
Commissioner Pelton?
No.
All I have is a special event permit. Entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second,
second.
motion made by Commissioner Marsh, seconded by Commissioner Dalzell to approve the agenda with one addition.
Hey, are you online?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay. Morning.
Morning, morning, morning. I had to unmute myself here. Okay, if we're ready to rock and roll, Carl, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Do you mind?
Morning.
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 Just a few updates for you guys today. 86th Avenue, 92nd Avenue, no changes there. I'm planning a phone call meeting with the SHPO to try and get some answers on the status of those projects. So 100th Avenue Southwest, we have received the cultural report recently. We do have SHPO concurrence on that project. We are in the process of finalizing our mitigation plan right now to secure the permit. I'm working with the landowner on that. Hopefully we can get permission to do that along the road, along their property. So we can do the mitigation on site for that project. So plans are about 90% complete. We are also working on getting those easement meetings set up and get those taken care of. So any questions so far? Hearing none. 12th Street, we are finalizing the grading design and incorporating some changes we're making to the cemetery hill, which has been a bit of an issue on that project, but I think we got a solution now to move forward. We are in the process of evaluating the disturbances and the mitigation for that project as well, and we'll be submitting the permit for that project as soon as we can. I have not received the cultural report for that project yet, but I do expect it fairly soon. We'll begin the easement negotiations on that project about that time as well. So 16th Street, we've completed all the surveys. We do have a complete grading design for the project and are developing the plan set right now. We are also looking at the environmental disturbances and mitigation requirements for that project. We do have the cultural report for this project. There is one critical site along the road, and we're currently working through that issue, trying to get a mitigation plan for that put together. So any questions thus far? I will note that 100th Avenue project, that'll be the second project going to bid this year. The first one will be this golf course road. We have essentially completed the design on this one. Plans are 95%. We're getting easements finalized right now. I do have a few out in the mail to some out-of-state landowners. I'm expecting them back soon. We're all in agreement, so no issues with that. We are planning a bid date for probably the second meeting in May, but it may be the first. So just see how everything goes. So any questions on that? 2025 projects, we're just working on field survey right now for those. Hoping to jump back into that now with the warmer weather. So any questions?
No questions. Thanks, Carl. I don't know what happens to sound. Can you guys hear me? Are you guys?
We can hear you.
Oh, sweet. I wouldn't want to deprive you guys of not being able to hear me.
Sure.
Okay, well, Darren's here, so I'll let him do his little shindig here.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. We're at the asphalt conference here in Bismarck, so I'm with David, as you said, up in the room here. Got some brief updates here on 2nd Street Northwest and 84th Avenue Northwest. So if that project is currently being advertised, then the bid opening is scheduled for April 17th at 10 a.m. Currently, we have 11 prime contractors holding plans for this project, and I think there's a couple others that are going to be opened on the 17th as well. So I think you guys should probably get some pretty competitive bids, not only on our projects, but on the others that you guys are opening up as well. So any questions on that?
None.
Very good. 2024 projects. So if you recall, at the last commission meeting, we had received 2 cultural report. We got the rest of the cultural reports. We have all of the 4 out of the 5 cultural reports from the last commission meeting. 117th has minimal conflicts, so we've actually finished the right-of-way plats for that project, and we'll commence collecting right-of-way on that here prior to the next commission meeting. The remaining 3, 119th, 99th, and 14th, those all do have cultural conflicts. So we're modifying the plans on those to try to avoid and minimize those. And then once we're okay with that, then we'll start the right-of-way acquisition process on that. I think a lot of people, and same like with Carl when he was saying too, you know, SHIP has kind of been a big deal, and cultural has been kind of a big issue on these things. So we're working with that and trying to streamline that process. Other thing to mention on the 2024 projects, we've been working with the new box culvert manufacturer. They're out at Devil's Lake. We've got them all of their design drawings, and we're waiting for the final pricing on that. I texted them again yesterday, and it's still in the works, but I would anticipate prior to the next commission meeting, we'll have the final information on that as well. And we can get that ordered and have it put on the shelf here for when the project actually gets built. So, any questions on the 2024 projects?
None.
Very good. Have a couple here too. Manning, our water group is still working with Southwest Water to determine what's all going to be needed for the project. Joanne, I don't know if there's any further updates that you may be able to provide. I think it's still kind of data collection and supply rate determination. I think is the last that I had heard. I don't know if there's anything you can update everybody on.
Correct. We're still working through some of the questions that Jen Murray sent us.
Yep.
So we're trying to get those all done this week. And we've got a couple letters we need to get out to. One having to do with the lead, and then the other one is the actual project, water project. So we're working through those.
Sure. And I know she had a lot of stuff that she dropped on you as far as questions that need to be answered. But if you need any help from me, if there's anything I can assist with, sure, don't hesitate to let me know, Joanne.
Okay, thanks.
You bet. And obviously, we want to get the water line stuff done before we start paving out there. So that's kind of everything's still kind of on hold until we get that all figured out. So any further questions on Manning?
None.
And then none. Okay, very good. And then last but not least, just on 79th again, I'm going to probably make a call here before the next commission meeting to Schwartz and figure out when they're going to get out there, just finish up those final erosion control items. again, we still have retainage on that project, so I think they're very interested in completing this. So I'll have an update or a better update at the next commission meeting. And that is all I have for you all this morning. If you have any further questions of me?
Thank you, Darren.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, is Mr. Cattermas in the room
No,
or on? Okay. His update is next commission meeting. We have 26 that's going out. I remember that's from South Tart Road over to the Billings County line. So that one's out right now on Quest there. So we'll be opening that bid coming up next commission meeting. Any other questions on his projects? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Wood, would you mind?
Morning.
Good
good
morning.
morning.
Got a few updates, nothing major, but a few updates for the commission here. Starting with the construction projects. Looks like on 7th Street, the Charlie's Pass project, that should resume construction sometime next week, assuming the weather holds. So looks like they're gonna get started next week on that project. Also, next week on 91st, if you remember, that was bid last fall. I think September last year. They're looking at starting that next week to get started. So we're coordinating with fencers and some utilities to get those moved, but that should get started next week also. Some of the newer projects that have been bid last meeting, in fact, the 104th and 1st Street, that was low bid was submitted by Jensen Brothers. We haven't had a whole lot of contact with them. We're trying to get the contracts in place, but they're maybe speculating of a June starting date. So nothing imminent, but right now we're kind of planning for June. That might be the earliest it would be. Same with 110th. Also with Jensen Brothers trying to get contracts in place and starting date, potentially in June for that project. Some of the design projects we're getting.
Jeremy,
Sure.
before you go any further, I just want to point out on 104th, the project that was bid on March 222nd. That was my typo, but I was laughing at myself, just letting you know.
Okay.
Oh.
22nd on mine, David. So
Okay. I was wondering how I
design
got that many days in
projects.
March.
Finishing up BIA, some of their suggested changes should be done real soon. 114th Avenue in the vicinity of New Raddick. We got all the easements obtained for a 7-mile portion of that project. We anticipate the 404 permit coming in pretty soon. I kind of thought we might have that already. We do know there's going to be significant wetland mitigation on that project. As mentioned, we don't have the core permit. The good thing about that, we don't see any SHPO problems, so it's just a matter of getting the core permit. So tentatively, we're thinking of early May bid opening for that project. And that would be 7 of the 9 miles. Still working with the Corps on the other 2 miles, but we're really close to a 7-mile project going to bid in May is what my guess is, whether it's the first meeting or the second meeting in May, but that should be bid fairly soon. Our 2025 projects, we've kind of picked a project off on 25th Street from the Highway 22 going west. We have that set up for April 17th bid opening. So next meeting, that'll go to bid for that 2-mile project. So getting close to a couple more bid openings. And next week, I think we'll have 2 or 3 projects under active construction again. So making headway on things, but any questions from commissioners or David, I guess, do you have any questions?
No, I think we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you. As far as what we got going on within the county here, we're kind of starting to slowly get out. Hopefully maybe now spring's set up, got some roads we're hitting. We do probably finished up the oil on the crack sealing. We're going to start tarring here in a little bit when we get our machine up and going. So we're did pretty good crack sealing this time of year. So guys did pretty good getting that done. Is there any other questions on any of that stuff?
No, none.
Okay.
Vince is here. Do we want to do utility permits?
Yeah, we can do utility permits.
Okay.
If Vince is ready.
Good morning, Commissioners. McKinsey Electric submitted a utility permit application for work order 2023-0514, Dunn Center South Circuit line rebuild. There are four road crossings on this permit. One of them is an overhead road crossing. Back in August 17th, 2022, McKinsey received an approved permit for an overhead crossing. That exact crossing is getting upgraded from single phase to three phase, so just a higher voltage. So that's what the new permit is including. So it's an existing road crossing that was permitted 2 years ago, and we are just upgrading that road crossing.
Why is there 3 underground and 1 overhead?
It's a pretty large project, so we're upgrading our line in 3 different areas, and so you can see each crossing on this permit, but the one that we're bringing to you in person is specifically for the overhead crossing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was just curious, why did you do 3 underground and 1 overhead?
3 different roads, so there's 4 different locations, right? So it's a pretty big project. So so are you asking why are those 3 underground and this one is?
Yeah, why is there
overhead?
not 4 underground and?
So because this existing road crossing was just built last year, we are utilizing the existing poles, part of the existing cable. So we're just upgrading the facility, and the main purpose is to keep costs low for the members. So essentially we would have to retire a line that was just built last year to bring it to be underground, and that would increase the cost pretty significantly. The underground crossings are new crossings. That's why we're doing those ones underground. Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
No, that's all right. Are there any other questions?
Now, are you keeping the lines out to 75 feet that you're building?
Like the poles and
Yeah.
anchors and all of that? No, not every pole and anchor is always going to be outside of 75 feet.
So I mean, if we're redoing a road that we don't have to have everything moved right away.
Sure. Yeah. So on a lot of these county roads, our understanding is that the Dunn County has statutory 33 feet from center line, which is why we're putting our poles
I think we
outside
have-
of that 33 feet.
I think we have 75 feet. What I understand.
For right of way.
Well, for that, your pole's got to be out 75 feet.
When we look for county right of way for a specific road, we're not finding documentation to show 75 feet for that specific road.
Mr. Chairman, is it that if we decide, or if a need comes before us that we need to improve that road, if you put the poles in at 33 or 34 feet, you would be required at your cost to move them to 75 feet? Is that my understanding?
So on a specific road, when we get plans for a specific road project, and we're being told that the county is acquiring new right of way out to 60 feet, that contradicts the county already having 75 feet from road center line, because why would you be acquiring 60 feet new right of way?
Ross, what do you think on that? You, you represent both of them, so you don't want to say nothing, huh?
I don't represent Mackenzie Electric, but I don't feel comfortable responding to the question because I have a business partner who doesn't represent Mackenzie Electric. So Vince will take his view and I'm sure the county will take its view.
And we're willing to work with the county on every specific road project that comes up. But that's our stance on right of way and permitting.
So as of right now, you're liable for moving the poles? If
We're
on a
always
pro-
going to be, we're always going to be responsible for moving the poles, but if you're speaking specifically for cost responsibility,
On the county.
yeah, it would be if any part of the project that's currently within county right of way is our responsibility. And any portion of that project that's outside of the county right of way is the county's responsibility. So if the county is performing work that's impacting utilities that are outside of their existing right of way, that responsibility should fall on the county.
That's the question, is
Yes,
who's
yes.
responsible? There's a difference of opinions.
So when did we make that change to 75 feet? That's been a couple of years, hasn't it?
Been a long time. It's a,
Yeah, and David, feel free to, if he's still on the line, feel free to hop in anytime.
He left.
I've been working with David on that a little bit, and there's still some more discussions to be had, but that is Mackenzie Electric's stance on cost responsibility for utility relocations.
It's a lot easier just to stay in the background on this computer over here. So, but yeah, I do want to thank Vince. He's actually done pretty good. We had a meeting and he's actually reached out to almost all of the engineers and had a meeting with them so we can do that. Of course, Vince knows where I stand. We got a little difference of opinion on how we read the century code, but that's neither here nor there. As far as this permit that he's asking for here, it is off the road at the 77 feet, as you can see. So it's off far enough out of the way. So that's where I'm at with it.
Mr. Chairman, I moved to okay the permit.
There's a second.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Pelton, seconded by Commissioner Dalzell to approve the utility permits for utility permits for Mackenzie Electric. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carried. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Vince.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, commissioners.
You have anything else, David?
That's all I got at the moment.
All right, thank you. Sally, do you want to talk about that special event permit?
Okay, so we have a special event permit for a wedding this May on the 18th at the Killdeer Rodeo Grounds. The Pipe Bar and Grill is asking for the permit, so we just need approval to get that signed.
Mr. Chairman, I moved to okay the special permits for the
Pipe
bike
bar.
bar.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Pelton, second by Commissioner Marsh to approve the special event permit for the pipe bar. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Motion carried. Leon, are you waiting for more people or guests or? Okay, all right, would you want to go early? Would you like to go early? Could you go right now? Okay.
papers in order here. I have handouts. I'm gonna kind of go over them. But I kind of marked. Okay.
I'll take this. Here, there you
I
go.
just have handouts there, but I know I've got another one. Oh, let me check.
These are all different.
Yeah, those are all
Oh, they're together.
Package.
information. I had
Okay.
this. Okay. Okay. Morning, Commissioner Wiener and Dunn County Commissioners. I am here in opposition to approve the gravel pit, which is referred to as the bank gravel pit. Let me give you some information on this. My uncle owned the face of the North Mountain as well as acreage miles south of the North Mountain. He owned the face of the South Mountain as well as miles on the east side, which comes into section 11. Fisher Sand and Gravel out of Dickinson contracted with him to open a pit in the Kildare Mountains, which produced gravel for commercial purposes. Ed Murphy, the state geologist, he was an avid hiker and outdoorsman, and he was hike in the Kildare Mountains. He became very interested in the unusual rocks in the Kildare Mountains. He took samples back to the state, and it was tested in the lab and came back as positive for arenite. So he notified the state authorities, and they came out and they sampled many samples from the South Mountain, the North Mountain, and the areas surrounding the mountains. And many of these samples tested positive for arenite. I have, the first handout I have is a description of arenite from the North Dakota Department of Health. The North Dakota Department of Health is now joined with the Department of Environment, and they're in the process of correcting all this, but this is still accurate. So that's the description. And they do explain that the gravel was used to surface local county roads, parking lots, and other areas. Then they had the North Dakota Department of Health, the University of North Dakota, and the Geological Survey all involved in this. And it came back that many samples had arenite. So they involved the EPA of the federal, and they became involved in it. So they studied it extensively. It was discovered in 2006 to contain arenite. 2008, 2009, they took samples, they studied samples, all of these agencies. Okay, so it says they came back with the extent of arenite exposure in western North Dakota. Oh, thank you. Is unknown. But given the inherent toxic nature of the material, reducing exposure is recommended. Where found, arenite should not be disturbed. Mining should be prohibited in the specific areas. Recommendations for county highway departments, businesses, and private landowners include finding alternative sources of gravel and limiting or eliminating exposure to arenite fibers. Okay, so these agencies joined together to study this and determine what they could do to guard the health of the citizens of Dunn County. They did extensive testing and they studied the area. They studied different aspects of it. And they also asked for volunteers in the immediate area and people that worked in the pit to come in for testing. So 34 people went in for testing. Out of these 34, 2 of them had significant scarring to their lungs that is related to aronite scarring. So aronite doesn't hit you overnight. It's like smoking. You're fine, or maybe you're fine for a year. It can affect you 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line. It can affect you. So that's how it works in your lungs. Okay, so smoking is legal. It's legal. You can smoke if you want to. You can't smoke in public places. You can't expose anybody else to your smoke unless they choose. If you approve this CPU, you will be forcing these 7 household families that live in a circle around this pit. You'll be exposing them against their will to this dust that contains aronite. And this has been proven. This has been proven. So against their will, you'll vote to expose them and their families to this aronite dust. These families all live in a circle within 1/4 mile from this pit, and some closer. The farthest one is going to be 1/4 of a mile from this pit. The wind comes through that gap road and hits that area. So you're going to have this situation. You're going to be forcing these families to breathe this air in against their will. None of these families will profit 1 cent from this gravel. The owner does not live by this gravel. The owner lives approximately 10 miles to the northwest. Okay, so in 2009, the agencies, the authority decided the best way to safeguard the health of the citizens was to spray the roads and the pit with the sealant. So they condemned the pit, they condemned use of it, and the EPA came up with a solution to spray on the roads to seal it. So the county commissioners at that time voted to go that route, and it was federal, state, and county funds. The estimated cost was $2 million. Now, and that was in 2009. So they voted to do that, and they sprayed the roads, and they sprayed the gravel pits. And they estimated it would be good for at least 10 years. And by that time, hopefully, the dust had settled. So here we are, 2024. And they want to open this gravel pit again. I mean, you know, in order to use gravel on North Dakota roads, North Dakota, they have to be shown free of aronite. Okay. So the county has told me, well, we're not subject to those rules. We can use them on county roads. Okay, so So you say, we're gonna have it tested. We had 2 tests done. Did you have the test done according to the regulations of the DOT? Was the DOT contacted? Did you follow their procedure? They tell me most labs are not able to detect aeronite, and there's only certain labs that they accept the results from. You have to contact them before you test. You have to get the rules and regulations. They have to be involved. And they have to approve. And if you go to, here is the spec standards from the DOT. Okay. This is section 106D. Aggregate source limitations. They talk about, how you have to treat the owner, whatever. This is aggregate source limitations. Do not use material from aggregate sources located in the following areas. In Dunn County, within the 7-mile radius of section 16-146-96. That's probably, it's right north, south a little bit of Sheila's house. And it is directly, it's not what people have been told. They don't cite that as the open gravel pit you see when you drive by. This whole area was tested. If you turn to the next page, here is their map. That red circle is a restricted location from the North Dakota Department of Transportation. They will not accept, you cannot do that. You say, okay, we can use it on county roads. I've been told if the county is receiving federal and state funding for improvements of their county roads, they're subject to the same rules as the North Dakota Department of Transportation has out there. And this is the federal recommendation also. So if before using material from the aggregate sources outside of the red dots, you can get that tested and use it. But you can't use it within the red dot. Okay, and like I say, you have to work with the Department of Transportation. Okay, here is the last on that. The red circles are the exclusion radius where no gravel should be mined because they have found aeronite through that area. The test radius, which is the areas, they've got it marked, it's on that map. You can use that if you test it. It has to be tested through the requirements of the North Dakota Department of Transportation. They have to be involved in it and they have to approve it. Okay, so I just have been kind of researching this because since all this, there's been no more tests. They've not tested any more people in Dunn County. They've not come out and tested the roads. They have told the county commissioners, don't use it. That will end the being exposed to it. And that still holds. So it's interesting because even the Western Dakota Energy Association, I thought I got this article from the Association of Counties, but I just have, this is who put the article out. And I have given you a copy of that. And they say too, they go on to say what I said. The North Dakota Geological Survey tested some of the rocks on the faces and thereby gravel piles that had been excavated from areas suspected of containing arenite. Lab tests showed that aranite fibers were present in many of the samples. These samples came from the South Mountain, the North Mountain, and the areas in front. My uncle at the time owned it all, and they worked with him. And then, like I say, 2 of these individuals that were tested, there was just 34 tested because it was volunteer. 2 of them were found to have the scarring that is consistent with exposure to aranite. Then it said the Department of the DEQ is working with counties and businesses to restrict further use of gravel containing aranite. So I guess it's up to you now. Have you checked with the Department of Transportation? Have you worked with them? Has the lab been approved that you took 2 samples to? It's not an approved process according to the Department of Transportation. And they're not going to approve this red circle because it's already been found to be there. It's not in every rock. It can be in every 10th rock. It can be buried under the ground. It can be, but when it's there, it's there. And this area, the pit that you're looking at putting in is in the center of this red area. Okay, so I have the article that you worked hard on with the other agencies. It's the Dunn County Government Strategic Plan for 2019-22. And you say, our mission, the mission of Dunn County government is to deliver services in a fiscally responsible way that will enhance the health, safety, and quality of the life of our residents. So do any of you have any questions? Do you have any? Tell me why you would consider opening this pit. Give me a positive reason to open this pit and expose these families to this air they are forced to breathe in. There's no positives here. It's not going to be cheap gravel in the end. Okay?
David, are you online?
Yep, I am.
Could you fill us in on the process of the testing?
Yeah, just so we're like all on the same page. No, I did not include DOT in that. The specs that she was requiring is if we were to use it on a DOT project or a federal funded project, they would require that they would be there. So I don't plan on using it on a federal job or a federal funded project. But we did take the samples and send them in to the lab. So of course I sent you the lab results as they came back. So
May I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
Was this lab approved by the Department of Transportation, and was this done? Was the sampling done according to the required process of the Department of Transportation? And I've been told it didn't. It wasn't.
I would have to check to see if the lab was. We sent it to AE2S, to American Testing Engineering, and they sent it into the lab that specifically tests for asbestos. So I could check very easily with the DOT if they would use that lab as well.
So American Engineering and Testing sent it off to a lab that is qualified to test for this.
Yes.
According to the Department of Transportation, have they approved this lab? Did you check to see if they approved this lab? And did you follow the required steps to gather the sampling and perform the sampling. It's required. It's required. And I've been told, but I'm researching it further and it makes sense to me. If you are getting federal or state money that is tagged to put into your county roads, they come under the same requirements as the Department of Transportation and the state and the federal highways. So
My understanding that goes for the specific road project. If we use federal money on a certain road, we have to follow their set of rules for that road.
that's right.
Yeah.
So if you're using any money to improving county roads, you have to follow the specs.
It goes per project
Well,
for rebuilding.
I
roads.
can get that. I can get that from you. I can get that from the Department of Transportation and from the feds. They want the people in this county to be safe. They have put $2 million, 14 years ago into sealing all this. They are saying there is aeronite in this area. You cannot safely use it. They're not backing down from that. I think you did you not receive an email from James Semerott, who is the director of the North Dakota Division of Air Quality? He's telling you, he's explaining to you the dangers of using this. And what does he say? The gravel mining site appears to be located in the area which is restricted from the North Dakota Department of Transportation. Again, the red circle, that's restricted. If you're going to use in the areas outside of the red circle, then you get it tested. Okay? Nobody has told me.
Oh, like in your Western Dakota Energy Association,
Yes.
at the bottom of that, it says Martin said the state has taken a better safe than sorry approach. He said gravel samples are tested, and if aeronite is present, the material cannot be used on state road projects. He said the DEQ is working with counties and businesses to restrict use of aeronite.
Right.
So we've had it tested and there's no aeronite present.
You haven't had it tested according to the Department of Transportation requirements. You've taken 2 samples and set it in. You haven't even gotten prior approval from the Department of Transportation if they approve of this lab. There's very few labs that can find aeronite. And yeah, I don't know.
I was just gonna say that the testing company that we sent it to is approved by the DOT. So I'm under the assumption, of course, that where they sent it to would be the same thing.
Okay, but did you follow the required steps of the sampling?
What are the fall requirement steps?
It's online. All you have to do is go online. It's like 3 or 4 pages. It's like 3 or 4 pages. You go online or you call and you get their involvement. It is, I was told that most counties don't pursue that because it's very, very expensive. And it's too expensive. Because you can't take 2 rocks, 2 samples, and have them tested. You have to do according to the steps. And I think you have to take at least 2 samples from every acre. And this is outside the red area. You take 2 samples from every acre. Every acre has to be tested. And it has to be tested every year. Counties, he said, it's too expensive to perform this. And this is an outside area. You can call him and ask him directly. Department of Transportation going to improve any gravel pits opened in this little red circle? No, they're not. And I will get it clarified, but if you're using state and federal funding, and I think Dunn County has gotten a wonderful amount, and I appreciate your work and the road work, because we have good life here. But if you can then improve that road with federal and state funding, and then go ahead and use Aronite gravel on it, I'll get it in writing for you. Okay? I mean, tell me something so that I don't have these fears. Okay, would you vote to have this right next to your children, your grandchildren? How about you? Would you vote to have this right next to your children and grandchildren? I mean, this is what you are subjecting these families to.
Mr. Chairman, I think David had said he was going to check with the company on the method of testing. I know it was American Engineer Testing and where they send it off to. So I think we should wait till we hear back from what he finds out.
As far as the process with planning and zoning, we're coming up on our deadline. Today is kind of the deadline. We have to kind of make a decision. Otherwise, we have to start completely over. So just for your information. Yeah.
That press it. Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
So this is directed to Sandy. Maybe you can help me out here, but this first came about, I think, would you say 2006? I was around at that time. I remember it fairly well. I think since that time, there's been some additional testing out there. 2014, I think there was a test, and that tested positive for Ryanite, if I remember correctly. Is that fair to say? And then recently in 2020, was decided, and we were not using Ryanite on our roads because of the potential from just not 7 people living in a radius, but people that are traveling our public roads and getting dust in their cars and their homes and in the school buses and different things like that. So it's a legitimate concern. I understand it. I just am curious about these 2 adverse results. Same lab, I think, that tested them, correct? They take a sample, they take it from North Dakota, they send it out to New Jersey, and then New Jersey does whatever New Jersey does with it, which is kind of ironic when you think about that. It's New Jersey, the land of toxic waste.
testing our samples, but two different results. So I don't know the answer why there is, but I think it's worth discussing.
Except it has to be tested according to the Department of Transportation regulations.
I can appreciate that. I guess the point is, in 2014, we accepted it as being a satisfactory result. Did they apply the same standards? I don't know that. I think certainly Commissioner Dalzell pointed out, maybe that's something that should be looked into, and Mr. Lem can follow up on that. I just want to put some historical context into it and then bring to light the discrepancy in the two test results, because I think that bears some thought or discussion by the board before they make a decision on what they want to do with this.
Can I ask a question? That gravel pit right to the northwest, was that tested for aeronite? It was like a quarter, half mile to the northwest.
Are you talking about the North Mountain?
Yeah, on the south side of the North Mountain, was that gravel tested for aeronite?
Oh, yes.
That's where they found it.
It was tested and it was positive. They tested on the South Mountain too. They tested in areas around, and you can see it. It's a very odd looking rock. It's beautiful. It's white. And you can see it where it is. And they, that's where they determined the acreage around the red spots. That's where the aeronite is. That's where they found it. And they have not changed their regulations. The state health, now it's DEQ, Department of Environmental. I was talking with the gentleman yesterday. They have not changed their direction. You do not use the gravel in the red spot, because it's been tested for aeronite and there's aeronite there. And they have not changed their position on that. So, any other questions? This is where the red circle is. And then people think the red circle's around the gravel pit. They've got the red circle right above Sheila's house. That's where it starts. In this area around there, because they tested all these spots. And it took them, they were, was it 2009? You remember when all the guys in the white suits, Ross? So they tested this area. And that is what they base their rules on.
He has something to say. Could you come up to the mic, please? Yeah, if you have to come up to the mic so everybody can hear.
This is my cousin's husband, Hans. This is his daughter, and they own acreage that is right next to Ben and Sheila's. They own property there. So they're within the range.
Yeah, my father, Hans Lenz, lives in this area. And I just wanted to add, I have an environmental science degree, and I just wanted to add a little tidbit to the aeronite. Does it have a half-life? It does not have a half-life. It's always there. The only problem with aeronite is when you disturb it. So when you mine it or you put it on the gravel road and you drive on it and it disturbs it, it becomes airborne. The fibers become airborne. So that was just my little tidbit.
Very good. Very good. I forgot to mention that. It doesn't harm anything as long as it's sitting there sealed in the soil and in the rocks. It's when you mine it and you turn it up, and then it's in the air, and that's when the problems. Right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I have to agree, to take two samples out of an area, knowing that prior they tested positive is hard to understand that these two samples all of a sudden aren't. I struggle with that.
Could I say one more thing?
Yeah.
The Planning and Zoning Board voted unanimously to deny this application, right?
Correct.
deny this application? Yes.
I think so.
Don't know if that. Oh, it was.
Yeah, it was. Mhm. That was back in,
That was back. That was back in April 11th of 2023.
correct.
The motion was Lauren DeVernock made the motion to deny conditional use permit number 08/2023, and Casey Bruce second the motion. Motion carried with all members voting aye.
They, the board at the next meeting said, I believe they said they were going to have a meeting with all the people living around this area, around that area, to see how they felt about it. And to my knowledge, not one person has been contacted. These people are all against this, the opening of this gravel pit. Does anybody feel different? Have you heard anything different?
I guess I just forgot about this. We had this table, so we do need to make a motion to remove this from the table so we can keep moving forward with it.
Mr. Chairman, I move that,
What?
that we officially remove it from the table.
There a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Dolzall, seconded by Commissioner Marsh to remove the Bang gravel pit from the table. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
And what does this mean? You will hear it at the next meeting?
No, we tabled it previous meeting, so we can't talk about, or we're not supposed to make a decision on it or talk about it until we remove it from the table. So now it's back on the table, so now we can talk about it.
It was
Sorry,
just,
we should have, we gotta, I'm sorry.
Start over.
I didn't want to make a decision. I'm sorry, I didn't want to make a
just a
decision.
formality.
Not follow procedures, I'm sorry. We can just keep going now. We can keep going now.
Okay.
And if the commissioners have anything else to add.
So if we do nothing and time runs out, then the county would have to re-permit.
That is correct. Our ordinance requires that something be done within 1 year of the application. So if nothing is done, then if they choose to pursue this farther, if a decision is not made today, they would have to start the process all over.
Well, if there's no further discussion or comments, I guess do you have anything else to add?
No, I'll answer any questions. I verified everything I've told you.
If nobody else has anything else to say or add, we'll, yeah. Can you come up to the speaker, please?
Not a whole lot to say, but I'll just keep it minor. I ask that you guys, I'm against the gravel pit, that you don't accept it. I am speaking on behalf of a family that lives very close to it. And ask that you don't approve it. I would be living right next to it.
Okay.
And I could go on and on and on about reasons why, but I just wanted to voice my opinion, and I am somebody that lives right there and would have to deal with it, and my family along with the other family.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to, I ask that you vote no too. These are my grandchildren.
No crying.
Thank you.
I'm pretty strong, except when it comes to my family. And when a group of people get to determine the health of my family, and they know what's right and they know what's wrong, it's kind of hard for me to come in front of you. I know you all have family, and I know you all feel about them the way I do. And with the documentation here, there really isn't anything to vote on with all of the legal people. I don't know if it's legal, I'm sorry, Mr. Sundin, but it's all the bigwigs in this. They have all said, no, don't do this. This is not good. I mean, okay, so maybe it might be a financial thing for somebody else, but you know what? Our community is a strong community. We help each other out. We look, make sure everybody's doing okay. This is what our community has been built on. I hope it doesn't change.
Thank you. Well, if there's no other, is there any other discussion? Any other discussion? We'll move on. We'll take a 5-minute break before we start again. We made a motion.
Nothing to vote on. Nobody's made a motion.
Oh, you're not gonna vote. So the next.
So the permit is expired. So if anything were to happen, it'd have to be a whole new process again.
It'd have to go back through planning and zoning. If it were to come to planning and zoning again, I mean, and you know what the results were last time. So if it were to come back to planning and zoning, then you would be contacted. Yes. Mhm.
Oh.
But what are, I appreciate all of you and your time and your efforts. I sincerely do. And I try not to argue about anything unless I thoroughly researched it and formed an opinion, and then I will be civil about it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Commissioner. Commissioner Beener, after visiting with Ross Sundin and looking at our ordinance again, the 12-month comes in after it is either approved or denied or approved. If we do not make a decision that it will just remain nothing happening to it, and it could be brought up at any time. So Ross suggested that we act on it one way or the other so that we can make this complete.
I'd entertain a motion for approval or denial.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to deny the CUP.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Marsh, seconded by Commissioner Dalzell to deny the CUP for the Bang gravel pit. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Marsh,
Yes.
Commissioner Dalzell,
Yes.
Commissioner Pelton,
Oh.
Commissioner Beener.
No. Now.
Failed.
Dale, so it's there.
What?
What?
It's not denied. The motion failed.
A tie is.
Huh?
No, the motion passed.
No,
But the century code says if there are 5 people on the commission and one person is absent for the day and it's a split vote, they have to wait till the next meeting. That person is there. I should have copied it, but it's under the title of.
I would have to look, Leon. That sounds accurate.
Okay, I can, gosh, I wish I would have brought that along, but of course I didn't.
Do you have any legal advice, Ross? What I'm supposed to do here?
I'll go take a look and I'll be back.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know if we have to wait till, what's his name comes back.
But move on.
Okay, we'll come back to this as soon as he gets back. Wes Dunn?
Well, good morning, commissioners.
Morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for your time today. Thank you on behalf of the West Dunn firemen, and beside me is Rick Regatz, our West Dunn Fire Protection District Board President. Thank you for the continued support you have given us. Yeah, because I need to be heard louder, clearer. Thank you. Throughout the years, for everything you've done for this community to help make sure we can do our job to protect them in their time of need. We had this special meeting with you guys as well as the city on February 22nd discussing our new fire hall project. Bids were let out, bids were opened a week ago from today, a week ago from today. And I think it should be in front of you or have a handout to show how the bids have all went. And as things have been moving forward, we had 2 alternates bid with that project as well, as far as bay space and also with concrete. And by looking at the contingency percentage needed, as even Commissioner Kleeman brought up at that point, a special meeting of what may or may not happen as we move forward, and money and funds has been added to that total as well, and as well as the A&E cost. As you can see, it north of 6.7 million for estimation at this point in time. We did meet with the city after both of you agreed to, with your funding and donations, the city on Monday night approved to give us another $500,000 to go towards the project as well. And we are back here to share our bids and tabulations and throw the question out there to see if we get any more support from you guys from Dunn County as well for this.
So at the moment, you have 6.5 million.
Correct.
Is there soft costs?
That is not included in what his estimation is given to you at this point in time. That is just the contingency percentage, just if we run into that problem or change orders and stuff. And I don't have an estimated soft cost to give you as what we would be filling as needs go. There are enough stuff at the current location to fill. I shouldn't want to say 90%, but 80% I feel comfortable to say what we can do. But just with the improvements being made for the training purposes and keeping guys safer and cleaner, when they come back from a fire call, there's going to be some other additional costs in there. But that's not something that's astronomically appointed to this cost is in front of you.
So at the moment, you just need the difference, which is $278,496, whatever. Correct?
Right, to finish off what the estimate is given from architect.
Is that the total cost, 278, or the difference? Is that,
I'm sorry, say
did
that
you
again?
calculate that? 278, whatever you said?
Well, you're asking, I mean, the total is $6,778,496.69, correct?
Correct.
Because that includes the contingency and
Contingency and
fees
A&E fees, yep. I guess I'm also asking here today because also support tonight at 5 o'clock. We are hoping to to be able to say who we are awarding the bid to.
So, Mr. Chairman, Ryan, that's Two's Construction as the general.
That is the low bidder as the bids
Yeah,
are being reviewed,
yeah.
correct? And then Advanced Mechanical and then Magnum for electrical.
Yep.
There was actually, we were pleasantly to accept, or not accept, but to get bids in at least 3 people or 3 companies for each.
Mhm.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move that we give them another 500,000, cover the cost of that and go towards put the rest towards their soft costs.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Pelton, seconded by Commissioner Dalzell to give the West Dunn Fire Department an additional 500,000. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Marsh,
Yes.
Commissioner Dalzell,
Yes.
Commissioner Pilchin.
Yes.
Commissioner Beener.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
So you're gonna award bids today?
Yeah, hopefully, yes.
And
but
then-
after we have our meeting, we hope to award the bids, so we can notify, so we start breaking ground.
Do you know when they'll start?
Not hopefully ASAP, because May 1st, they start hitting penalty if they don't have it done by May 1st of 2025, so.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
guys.
Mr. Sundin.
Chairman Beener, the century code 111107, when the board is equally divided on any question, it shall defer its decision thereon until its next meeting, which time the matter shall be decided by a majority of the members of the board.
So wait until the next
Be
meeting.
deferred, yeah.
Okay. Do we have to table it or
Just automatically.
it just carries on?
If you want to, I would suggest you just motion to table it until the next meeting and back.
Mr. Chairman, I move we table the decision on the gravel pit till April 17th.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Dalzell, seconded by Commissioner Marsh to table the Bang CUP until April 17th. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Deb Nelson.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Yeah. Good morning. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, I'm here today on behalf of Vision West ND. It's been some time since I've been here. You have a fiscal sponsor agreement that I would like to address with you today. It's been, actually, Dunn County has been a fiscal sponsor for Vision West ND for quite a number of years.
This last one was signed in January of 2020, and it expires after 5 years. We are in the midst of, we're in year 2 of a 3-year grant that Dunn County is administering for us through the state of North Dakota. The fiscal agreement is primarily for federal funds, and this grant that we have is it's federal money running through the state Health and Human Services. The 3rd year will commence beyond the date that this agreement ends. So I'm here today to ask that you would consider extending the fiscal sponsor agreement to December 31st of 2025, which would take us through our 3rd year on this particular grant. Dunn County acts as a pass-through for us, and I work directly with Sally Whittingham on this, and we worked together to get this done. Prior to this, we worked, of course, with Tracy Dalzell. So I would be willing to answer any questions. I also want to just point out, I've also given you a copy of our annual report. Not anything to act on, it's just information that you think you should have about Vision West ND if you have not received it to this point.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to renew the fiscal sponsor agreement between Dunn County and Vision West North Dakota Consortium.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Commissioner Dalzell, second by Commissioner Pelton to agree to approve the agreement between Vision West.
Yes.
Okay, and Dunn County. And it's for 3 years, you said?
No, this would expire on December 31st of 25. The grant that we're in is a 3-year grant. We're in year 2 of that.
The future one, if we sign it,
It would go until December 31st of 2025.
oh, okay. Okay. Yep. Is there any discussion?
So it would be the length of the grant.
Right, the grant would end actually September 30th, but there's always an extension period after that for us to be able to get the work in and get our reports in. So we would appreciate it if it could go until the end of the year.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, if you could sign it and then turn it over to our president, who happens to also be sitting at your level, and that's Sandy Rhodey.
You have one? Can I sign the one I have?
And then we can make a copy and get it back to you. Okay?
Well, that's the old copy right there.
Oh.
You need a new.
It's
All right.
Find it?
The extension is on the last page on the bottom.
Oh,
It's the exact
That's what I-
agreement, but it's the,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last
Yep.
page, yeah.
thank you.
Yep, bottom.
I would like to just add my thanks and the thanks of Vision West ND and its consortium for the really tremendous support that Dunn County has given Vision West ND since inception. I can tell you honestly that we all believe very strongly that Vision West ND would not be in the place that it is today without the support that we've received from Dunn County. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The building committee. You did ask for?
No, but
Oh.
I kind of did, and
Oh,
I
okay.
did.
I would move this. Was this tabled?
No, it was
It just
postponed.
postponed, so
Okay.
we can,
Yeah, it was postponed when I was gone, and I think we need to move forward.
This, you're talking to try to figure out how to reconfigure and make better efficient use of our space. So
And move on with our building across the street.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I agree. I think I had asked that it be postponed. We received the information the building committee had put together that day, while we were sitting here in the meeting. And I kind of requested time to be able to look it over and visit with different departments. So that was the reason it was postponed.
Yep.
And my feelings are that building across the street something needs to be done. We've been kicking it down the road for a few years now, and it's an eyesore. I think we can do better. And while we have our federal mineral royalty money and the oil and gas funds that we have, I think we need to make these improvements so we're in good shape for the future. So I would like to see us move ahead with an architect to look at that building across the street, and maybe where feasible, we may need to make a few changes here. I don't think we need to do major things here. Lisa in the clerk of courts with the courtroom, there might be some things we can do. I don't know that it's feasible at this time to go into a major construction mode there, but maybe with the architect's help, there's some things that can be done to make some needed improvements.
I agree. I think it'd be good to bring an architect in and see how we can better utilize our space. Not like you said, not complete overhaul, but, and then we should try to figure out what we can do over across the street at the sample building.
All they're gonna do is give us ideas. It's still gotta come back to us
Right.
to approve anything.
Yep. So I guess with that, I would make that motion that we go ahead with getting an architect on board to look at our options for that building across the street and where needed or necessary here in the courthouse.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made by Commissioner Dalzell, seconded by Commissioner Pelton to bring in hire an architect to look at the sample building and at that property and come into the courthouse and look and see what we could do more efficiently. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Marsh,
Yes.
Commissioner Dalzell,
Yes.
Commissioner Pelton.
Yes.
Commissioner Beaner.
Yes, motion carried. Lisa?
I have company.
Oh,
All right. Hi, Sarah.
Yep.
Good morning, Chairman Beaner and Commissioners. Sarah's passing out some handouts about what we're going to discuss here today. It's that time of year again to discuss our annual cleanup. This year, we'd like to switch things up a bit. April 22nd is Earth Day, and the month of April is National Counties Month. So in keeping in the spirit of being a good neighbor and feet on the ground in our counties, we would like to engage our communities in a cleanup week. So we are proposing that April 22nd, Earth Day, be our cleanup day in Manning. It would be just like, it's been every year for the past 6 years. We would coordinate, department heads would coordinate with their staff, whoever wants to volunteer to clean up. We clean a mile north of town, a mile south of town. This year, because we've done such a good job in years gone by, we only need to do one shift in the morning, I believe. When we first started out, it was a morning shift and an afternoon shift, but we do it every year, and I think we can get it done in the morning. I'd like to have a potluck, if possible, to feed everybody. And then we have reached out to the communities about engaging them to pick a day during that week in which they could, we could help them do some cleanup in their community. We kind of have to flesh that out a little bit. I know Sarah has already reached out to the city auditors to see if they're willing to do that. And what that would look like is I'm hoping that the commissioners would be involved. I plan on cleaning up every day. If the communities want to, I'll take a couple of hours out of my day and go to each community. And then if there are any county employees that would like to volunteer, we do have a benefit in our policy for community service hours that they can use to promote civic engagement. So they could possibly volunteer and use that as well. We'd also like to roll out Adopt a Pot. And that's something that Luann has experience with, and I'd like adopt a pot. We're not talking wacky weed, we're talking a planter. So I'm gonna let Luann speak to that and then.
In one of my previous positions, it was difficult to get those oversized, you've seen oversized planters in the communities on Main Street. I would like us to be able to, if we purchase the planters, I'd like to solicit support from the communities to adopt the pots in their communities so that we don't have to do that, obviously. And the exciting part is, I think Sarah's the extension agent, is they have master gardeners, right?
So we have a master's gardener program that Kirsten suggested we could use to plant the planters. We would do that in mid-May, once we're free from frost, obviously, and get with our master gardeners and see if they're willing to go around, and an agent could go with them and plant the pots and just make sure that way they're taken care of throughout the summer as well. And we think we'd be able to get some of those master gardeners to go around and check those pots and make sure they're getting watered as well.
Ultimately, if the pots weren't adopted, I would do it. I mean, I've done it before. It's okay, but it really does add something to main streets in those little communities. I mean, they're gigantic pots and they're beautiful. That is kind of one of our goals of reaching out, engaging all the communities and trying to beautify Main Street. So hopefully it's just it's a small step, but it's a step in the right direction. So, and again, it is National County Government Month, so you'll hear from us more on activities as we move forward throughout the month of April.
Mr. Chairman, have you guys talked to the city of Kildare? I know that they had a Beautify Main Street initiative as part of some of the things they've been working on. So I would reach out to them. I think you are.
We are
Right?
going to.
Or
Yeah.
I think it's the CVB group.
Okay.
Part of their plan, I think that's part of it. So I would reach out to them and see what they have planned.
And I know the city of Kildare already has a cleanup week. This is, that's inside the city and it's wonderful because I'm within city limits, but this is more, I feel, in between Kildare and Dunn Center, or, we're talking Marshall to Neratic stretches of roadway or ditches or wherever, that really hasn't been fleshed out, but that's my vision of where they would want us to clean up. But you're talking for the pots, right?
I'm talking the
beauty-
pots, because they talked about doing flower, I don't know if it was hanging plant, something on the Main Street. Yep.
I should add too, I've also reached out to the oil companies and I'm getting a list of them. They have already started to clean pads because we talked about doing more rural too. So that gets cleaned up, not just the cities themselves. And fortunately, my brother with Marathon has started that. They've started that. He's got several companies that are out there. They've been cleaning the pads and the ditches and everything leading up to their sites already. As soon as the weather warms up, he said, we've already been working on it, but we're trying to engage with them too, so we can continue to build our friends.
The other thing,
and beautification is part of our strategic plan. And, as far as the oil companies are concerned, I think they need to be recognized at some point for doing what they do, because they're not the only factor that contributes to the trash we have in our communities. But getting back to this, the ask is to set a date for our Manning cleanup. And then we will continue to reach out to the communities on which date during that week they would like to do their cleanup. And we're also asking this year for a budget of about $1,500. In years gone by, we have utilized the road department's vests. We have used our nitrile gloves, our trash bags. So really already spending the money, but this is going to be specifically just for cleanup. So we won't be taking from the courthouse supplies that we already have. And that would include the pots that we would be purchasing.
Well, our effort is, we're trying really hard to work with locals to purchase the pots here. So if we can at all, that's where we're gonna go with the pot.
Mr. Chairman, I really appreciate the work you guys put into this. And I guess with that, I would move that we go ahead and provide the $1,500 budget for the cleanup and Earth Day theme, Earth Week.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Dalzell, second by Commissioner Pelton to approve the $1,500 for cleanup week and the pots for the flowers. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Marsh,
Yes.
Commissioner Dalzell,
Yes.
Commissioner Pelton,
Yes.
Commissioner Beaner.
Yes, motion carried.
Thank you. And I would just like to also say that we'll also be working with Sheriff Kuhn and our road superintendent, David Lim, because our sheriff provides some security for us when we're out there cleaning. So he's already on board like every other year. So we'll be working with them and Will, our environmental specialist. That's the team, Luann, Sarah, and myself.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
I think Mike's out in the hallway. Luann, could you?
Yes, I surely can.
Thank you.
Who he's got coming with him?
Yeah, we'll ask when he gets in here. We gotta do vouchers. Hey, Mike, are you waiting for more people? Okay, yeah, come on up. Yeah.
Yes, sir. For an hour. Had a schedule.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
We're here from
morning.
the airport. All of you know Greg. I assume most of you know Jeff as well. We are here for funding for a new hangar project that we have planned. I assume you all got the packet that we filled out for the grant application.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, I guess I had a question. Are you receiving any federal or state funds for this?
No, the state government or the state Aeronautics Commission views hangars as a very low priority because they're revenue producing. They love spending money on airport maintenance projects, pavement, aprons. They gave us 39% of the funding for the terminal, 50% of the funding for the fuel system, but they view hangars as something that should be locally funded.
Yeah, so the 2.9 million, that's for the full project.
That's for the full project, correct.
Has this been bid already?
Bid openings on April 18th.
Oh, I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, this is just the engineer's estimate.
Correct.
Basically. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, that's what okay.
And the good news is we have another pavement maintenance project going on, a heavy seal coat, 208 heavy coat coming on, and those bids came in actually under the estimate. That's a first for us.
So what is the size of this? Because it only holds 6 aircraft?
8 aircraft.
Oh, currently you have one that has 6, sorry.
Yep.
Read that wrong.
I brought a copy of the blueprints if you'd like to look at them.
Do you know, what is the size?
192 feet by,
And what this will, putting this hangar up, it will open it up so they are eligible for federal funds? Because you got to have 10 hangar
correct,
spots.
correct. As far as if you have to have 10 based aircraft to get FAA funding. Right now, we only have a max capacity of 6. So what this will do, and the minimum funding from a NIPIAS airport is, and that's what we call the federally funded airports. Minimum funding back to the county would be 150,000 annually, but we have to get to that 10 based aircraft first. And right now we just don't have the capacity, and we can't even apply for NIPIAS funding until we have the capacity. So we did a tally up at the last meeting, and there's 31 aircraft owned by Dunn County residents. And not to mention all the transient aircraft that come in through the oil field. So we're very short on space for aircraft, and we need to fix it. I know it's a tough ask because we usually come in here for cost share programs, and this would be all on us. So I know it's a difficult decision. It's easy when you're getting more money than what you're putting into a project.
But I apologize. When you were saying the size is 192 feet by what?
Believe 60 feet.
60 feet?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it'd be 8 additional aircraft. So there'd be 4 bays. Yep, and there'd be 2 aircraft per bay.
Each would have its own electrical system. They have its own meter, so.
Can I ask what you charge?
$225 a month. So I did the math. At full occupancy, we'd have 14 aircraft with the current hangar and the new hangar. At figuring 80%, that would be $30,000 annually we'd get in rental income. But on a $2.9 million hangar, that doesn't even cover the interest. So hangars are difficult to put up, airports to put up on their own because they just don't pay for themselves. It's the transient value you get from the people coming in and out of the community. 62 feet, 62 by 192.
and this project, if it went to bid, obviously would be built this summer, your
Correct.
assumption is?
The fly-in for this year is June 23rd, and we'd have construction starting probably after July 4th. And the airport will be closed down for, is it 3 weeks, Greg? For the seal coat? 2 weeks. 2 weeks for the seal coat. And that's happening right after the 4th of July as well.
You'll need it open for the cowboys to come in, right?
That's right. Well, it's funny you say that. We do get a lot of cattle buyers that fly in. That Italian airplane, the twin engine pusher, is a cattle buyer that comes in.
Okay.
We have Cessna Citations that come in the summer. Like we said before, we actually sell more jet fuel than we do avgas. So it's not just the 3 of us flying. We get a lot of corporate traffic that comes in.
Yeah.
Egg spraying. Yeah, we had 2 egg spraying companies come in last year for spraying crops. Yeah, it's we get a lot of traffic.
There's a pipeline helicopter that comes twice a day sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
Fuel.
And the other nice thing about this hangar is right now, when a transient aircraft comes in, like a Cessna Citation, a private jet, a corporate jet, it would be really nice if we had a place to house them in the main hangar. And our main hangar was designed for that, but it's full of aircraft right now. We can't pull out 6 aircraft to put in one Continental Resources jet for overnight. Now, if we have this new hangar, our smaller aircraft are designed to go into the new hangar, and that would theoretically leave some space in the big hangar for the transient jet aircraft that wants to park overnight. Right now, we don't have that capability. So it would be easier to move aircraft around if we had a room for the smaller single engine aircraft than the large bay hangar we have would be for the corporate jets. It would be a lot easier to move 1 or 2 aircraft out of that overnight for a larger aircraft such as that, and move those smaller aircraft back in.
So what happens if your bids come in over 2.9?
We have 300,000 in our capital improvement plan for funding for just this thing.
So you have money.
We have some money saved up.
Mr. Chairman, right now would just be, you're asking for a commitment from this board to, if the bids come in at 2.5 million, that's what we would.
Correct.
Right.
If the bids are lower than 2.9, 2.9 is a high estimate.
Mhm.
We would not use all the funds.
Mr. Chairman, to move along, I would move that we provide support to the Dunn County Airport Authority up to 2.9 million.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made by Commissioner Dalzell, second by Commissioner Pelton to approve funding of the 8-unit hangar up to $2.9 million.
Yes.
Correct. Okay. Is there any discussion?
I guess something by doing this and getting this built and then opening up the door for that 150,000 a year from the federal, the feds, there are probably other opportunities too federally.
Oh, yeah, correct. Any future project we do, now we have 3 funding sources. We can apply for federal grants, state grants, and our local cost share. So this really opens the door for expansion into the future, but our hands are tied at 6 aircraft. And once we get to that 10 aircraft, then we can apply for NIPIAS inclusion, which is very rare. We get that inclusion study done, that takes 4 to 5 years. Then we can guarantee that 150,000 coming back into the county for future. So it's not all on the county. I mean, right now, when we apply for funding for runway extension or parallel taxiway, anything like that, we have 2 funding sources. That's the county and the state. And by doing this, not only do we get an annual 150,000 minimum, that goes up with the more aircraft we have. If we get to 20 based aircraft, now we're looking at a lot more. So this is expansion for future income producing revenues for the airport. So it's not all on us for future projects that we want to do.
So when you built the hangar for 6, how did you decide on 6, knowing that you should have, what, 20 you said or something?
Well, the previous hangar that the airport had since the 1980s only held 3. So we doubled our capacity once, and the box hangar that we have was the cheapest, cost-effective way to put as many aircraft as possible in one building.
Plus the snow removal equipment.
Right, and we have to, we have a little spot in there for snow removal equipment and our lawnmowers. Basically, all of our aircraft storage is in that, and our maintenance equipment is in that one building.
And that hangar is big enough for like King Air or something like the medical, if they, like in the wintertime, we don't have any like de-icing equipment or something. We could put that hangar is big enough that we could put a large thing in there. De-ice it. But need that big of a single use.
And we built that first hangar in 2015. And I think we spent 730 some thousand on that hangar. And now we're looking at an 8-unit hangar for 2.9 million. So of course costs have gone up, but this is a more individualized hangar for aircraft. So like there's a lot of our residents have 2 aircraft. So one owner will have 2 aircraft in one hangar, and then that's more of a personalized space. And there's a term called hangar rash. If your aircraft is in the back of the hangar and you want to go flying today, you have to move out 3 aircraft to get to yours. And if you're by yourself, you can rub up against other airplanes. Now, we've been fortunate where we haven't had any incidents yet, but when you're moving $1 million aircraft, it's a scary proposition. So we can move these smaller aircraft into their own stalls where you're just moving 1 aircraft or at the most 2 to get out.
So you said there's 31 aircrafts in Dunn County, correct?
Correct. That we know of.
Do those 31 aircrafts have places to go? I mean, is this hangar?
There's some staying in their own farms or ranches. There's some staying in Dickinson, Beulah, Hazen, and Watford. We're full and we have a waiting list for space.
Even waiting list beyond what the new hangar. We have a new hangar committed completely, plus a waiting list.
Correct.
They're full already.
That's what I was getting at is if you have 31 in the county, it doesn't seem like adding 8 is gonna.
Well, a lot of these guys are keeping their airplanes at home because they don't have any other options. And
What we're getting them to do is put the Killdeer Airport as their home base
Correct. They have to be residing at the airport to get that 10 based aircraft to get the federal funding that we're looking at.
We want to bring those based aircraft back to our county.
Correct. Because,
We get the funding.
right, and it's almost like a school with enrollment. Dickinson, Beulah, and Hazen are benefiting from those federal dollars, and they could be coming back to us if we had the space for the aircraft.
Ideally, at some point, we would want individuals to build and own their own hangars. That would be the ideal situation for everybody.
Oh,
But at this point, we need to jumpstart kind of what and revitalize what's going on at the airport to attract people to want to spend their money and build their own hangars. We just aren't there. We just don't have, without the services, without a shop, without other services that the airport can offer, we aren't going to attract people to come build their hangars here. So if we can get the federal dollars started our way, if we can get grow the airport to a point where we can start substantiating those services, then we can start seeing this helping it out further.
So where would you build this?
Right between the new terminal and the old hangar. We already have the dirt work done. We planned that when we built the new runway.
Mhm.
The space for this is the biggest building we could put in the space available. Otherwise, we have to build a parallel taxiway, which would cost at least a couple million. And then we'd have to build 2 more additional runways or taxiways.
Have you been to the fly-ins?
Yeah, she was
No.
at the terminal open.
Yeah, I was, the last year.
Where they've
When they
had the
opened.
car shows and stuff?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's where it'll be.
The dirt work's done already.
Yeah, and we did that back in 2015.
any further discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Marsh,
Yes.
Commissioner Dolzall,
Yes.
Commissioner Pelton,
Yes.
Commissioner Beaner.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Sure. Mike. here's your-
We have financial report and vouchers yet.
Oh, thank you.
Marathon did say, they texted me yesterday that they have 5 workover rigs in Dunn County. 1 completion frac crew that's northeast of Kilder. They're supposed to be completing that project mid to end of the week. Various pipeline construction projects and pads being built. And 1 drilling rig moving in on 2nd Street southwest, quarter mile from 98th.
Just north of Gogglers.
North of where?
Gogglers.
Oh,
Gogglers.
okay.
They've got quite a few pads gonna be built here pretty shortly.
Where?
I know most of them out north of Dunn Center.
I think they're right around, right on the north side of Dunn Center in that area.
Yeah, they built one on Reese's, Larry Knutsvig's right north of Reese's. I think up north of us, a couple miles, there's supposed to be one going in.
Nothing south?
Not yet, that I've heard of.
We start looking at the vouchers. I would like to invite everyone to have pizza in the lunchroom. Thanks to First International Bank and Trust and Andrew Samsel.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Andrew.
Thanks.
Do you have anything to say? No. I will listen, so we're getting free pizza.
Complex. Oh, yeah.
The
Yep.
Industrial gas plant and those
Yep.
things. See, you took off the. I think it was confusing for some people.
We should.
D in there. They'll go in the paper. Oh, right, okay, I didn't recognize the name. Okay.
You know if that's all done?
Yeah, we just have the final invoice.
Chairman, I move to approve the bills as presented.
Is there a second?
Second,
Motion made by Commissioner Pelton, second by Commissioner Dalzell to approve the vouchers. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Marsh,
Yes.
Commissioner Dalzell,
yes.
Commissioner Pelton.
Yes.
Commissioner Beaner.
Yes, motion carried. Sally, do you want to run through the?
Okay, so for today, I only have the gas production tax numbers. We're a little behind and I just wanted to be able to give you guys the right month end numbers, so I'll present those at the next meeting. But in March, for the regular gross production tax, we received $3,739,000. And we also received, for the unorganized township, another 249,000. And we also in March received our quarterly federal mineral monies, and that was at 6.5 million. So overall, between gross production tax and federal mineral monies in March, we received roughly $10 million.
Thank you.
Almost 11 million.
Yeah.
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 Anything else?
Through 3 months, our gross production tax revenue is already at 41% of our budget. So we're way ahead with the money coming in. So,
Entertain a motion for the adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second,
Motion made by Commissioner Marsh, second by Commissioner Dalzell to adjourn. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
aye.
All opposed, meeting adjourned.
Are you doing the pinning ceremony?
That's, Sheriff Coon.
Anders.
That's Sheriff Coon's got the pinning ceremony.
And
Yeah.
else? Want me to leave that up for them?
I'll just do it.
You have to ask him.
What? We should.
How soon he's doing it?
I'll do a
Oh, yeah.
ceremony. A pinning ceremony.
When?